All right, welcome to Music with Mr. M. And today, no matter what instrument you play, we're going to learn to practice like a pro. So we're going to learn what to do and what not to do. Almost more importantly, right? Today, we're going to introduce 4 steps to successful practice. Number 1, we're going to master the pitches, so the actual frequencies we're creating with our instrument. If you're a drummer and playing a snare drum, you don't have to worry about this one. Number 2, we need to master the rhythms. That's the different speeds at which you're playing the notes. Number 3, we're going to master other stuff. Talk about that a little later. And last, we're going to learn how to increase the speed properly, because y'all want to play fast, right? I know that you do. All right, before we start though, some assumptions. Number 1, this will only work if you're doing small parts of music. If you play through a 1-page piece 35 times, probably incorrectly, that is a way to practice. It's just not a good way to practice. For all of the stuff that we're going to learn today to work, I'm talking like 2 to 4 measures tops. When we're practicing, we're actually paying close attention to what we're playing. I know that sounds shocking, but you would be surprised how many times people just kind of like mindlessly hack through something incorrectly. All you're doing then is practicing it wrong and reinforcing something that's not good. Number 3, if what you're playing is too hard, this isn't going to work. We need to make sure that the piece you're learning is appropriate to your ability level. Now, if you're in my class, I have selected music that is at your ability level. Don't try and play the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto if you've only been playing for, 3 weeks, because it's just not going to work out for you. And finally, you have to be honest with yourself. If it doesn't sound good, don't tell yourself, it's probably fine, we'll go on to the next step. It's only going to lead to frustration. All right, gang. Step 1, mastering the pitches. Again, if you play the snare drum, we don't have pitches, so don't sweat this stuff. But if you don't play the snare drum and you play the violin or the flute or the clarinet, we need to know, are we reading the right pitches? Is that the one we're supposed to be playing? And are the pitches sounding accurately? Good information to know. Are we using the correct fingerings? If you play the clarinet and you use the wrong fingering, you're not going to get the right pitch. If your answer is yes to all these questions and you're playing it in tune and it sounds pretty good, sweet, go to step 2. However, if your answer was no, then we're going to ignore those rhythms. If we're having trouble just playing the pitches, you can't be expected to play the pitches and rhythm. Just pretend everything is a quarter note. We're going to ignore all that other stuff that people tend to kind of obsess over, like bowing, stick patterns, drum patterns, picking patterns, all that jazz. Because, if we can't play just the pitches, what makes you think you're going to get all of the bowings and the rhythms at the same time? Answer is, you're not. Then, finally, and this is the hardest one, go super slow. Pitch accuracy is the most important thing in this step, and if you're going really fast, you're not going to hear your pitches, and you're not going to be able to tell if you're in tune. I know that is shocking, but it shouldn't be. All right, so you've practiced really slow. We just did quarter notes. Everything's in tune and sounds great. Then, step 2, we're going to master those rhythms. Hey, snare drummers, you can wake up now because this affects you as well. We need to know, are we reading the rhythms correctly? Are we playing the rhythms accurately? Are you keeping a steady-ish beat? Now, we don't need to be super 100% like hardcore about it yet. We'll get to that a little bit later, but it should be a roughly steady beat. If you are having massive swings in tempo, that's not good at this point. If your answer is yes, that you've played the rhythms correctly with a steadiest beat, you can go to step 3. Congratulations. If you didn't say yes, that's okay, because we can work on it. One thing, if you have a really challenging rhythm, is to just play it on an open string if you play a string instrument, or a really, really easy note if you play the clarinet or the flute or the trumpet or something like that. Don't worry about what the pitches are. Get the rhythm first, then we'll add the pitches back in. We're still going to be ignoring all that other stuff because, let's face it, if you can't play the pitches and rhythms, you're also not going to be able to incorporate accents and staccatos and slurs and all that other stuff yet. It's okay. It'll come next. And again, I feel like I just said this. Go super slow. Oh, I did! So still go super slow. Pitch accuracy and rhythm is the most important thing at this point. So don't worry about how fast you're going. Put everything together, and once you're comfortable with that, it's time to move to step 3. Master the other stuff. I can already hear you saying, Mr. M, what on earth are you talking about other stuff? Well, you may not know what all these things are, but if you do, this will be a great time to add bowings, such as slurs, articulation, such as tenutos, marcatos, staccatos, ricochet. There's like a jillion different articulations. Expressive markings, ornaments. Mr. M, I'm not decorating a Christmas tree. If you don't know what an ornament is, you're not playing Baroque music. Don't sweat it, you'll learn. Don't forget those dynamics. We tend to overlook those, but we need to, if we're playing something soft, we need to practice it soft. I know that sounds shocking, but it's really true. We need to add all of these on top of playing the correct pitches and rhythms, which means you should probably be going slow. If you are doing all of this stuff at a slow speed and it's accurate, then it's time to go to step 4. If you need to work on adding these things, incorporate one at a time. Don't be a hero. I know I can hear you saying, but I can add the staccatos and the slurs and the dynamics and the 65 other things at the same time, Mr. M. The answer is no, you can't. So do one at a time, otherwise you're gonna get frustrated. How do I know this? Because I've done it myself and it's super frustrating. So one at a time and you'll get it much, much quicker, I promise. The order that you incorporate all this other stuff is totally up to you. The one caveat is if you are adding ornaments, I recommend doing those first before you start adding other things. Again, if you think I'm talking about decorating a Christmas tree, you can just kind of forget about what I said. Once you have everything together, all of your other stuff, your rhythms, and your pitches, and it sounds amazing but slow, then it's time to move to step 4. Increasing the speed. All right, it's the moment you've all been waiting for because I know y'all want to play fast. So, how do we increase your speed, Mr. M? How do you do it? How do you do it? You use a metronome, and then you should use your metronome, and use a metronome, and I recommend using a metronome. Start slower with your metronome than you think you need to. This is not a time to go super fast. This is a time to start honing in that steady beat and doing everything correctly at a slow speed. My motto for using a metronome, by the way, you should use a metronome, is that if it's not easy, you're going too fast. So slow down. Use a metronome, by the way, in case you didn't get the hint yet. Increase your speed by about 5 beats per minute when you think you're ready to increase. So let's say I just played at 60 beats per minute. That means I'm going to bump it up to about 65. But Mr. M, my metronome doesn't go in 5s. Yeah, fine. Go to 66 or 63. It doesn't really matter. I just don't want you going from 60 to 150, which is what y'all are going to do. So small increments each time. Next step to successfully increasing your speed is to make sure you write down your speed when you're done working on a section. Otherwise, you're going to spend 10 to 15 minutes trying to figure out what the heck speed you were playing it at the last time. So write it down. It takes 3 seconds and saves you time when you're practicing the next time. Finally, the most important thing is to use a metronome. Oh, that's not new. Use a metronome? Use a metronome! All right. So as you're getting faster, using your metronome, we should start putting things together once you're about 75% of your goal speed. So if my goal speed is 100 beats per minute, once I get up to about 75 beats per minute, I'm going to take those little 2 and 4 measure chunks I've been working on and put them together and make them 8 measure chunks or 4 measure chunks or whatever it is. One thing that people typically tell me is, Mr. M, my metronome's so annoying. And then I look and they've got it ticking at like 190 beats per minute. Yeah, that's super annoying. I totally get that. But here's a cool trick. So if you're playing with eighth notes at 160 beats per minute, you can put it at 80 for a quarter note, and you're still going to play at the same speed, but it's ticking only half the amount of time. Most of the time, I recommend using speeds between 60 and 120. 60 is a good start for like something slow. If you go below that, it tends to be hard for beginners because you have to divide up the time in your head. And if you go over 120, people typically say it's pretty darn annoying, which I would agree with that actually. Again, our 4 steps to success. Number 1, we're going to master the pitches. If we can't do just the pitches, we're going to start with that and cut out everything else. Then we're going to add the rhythms, add all that other stuff, and finally increase the speed. And when we're increasing the speed, we're going to, say it with me, Use a metronome. Happy practicing.